Hi, let's take a look at hemolytic disease of the newborn, which is like a transfusion reaction that occurs naturally unless we do something to stop it. But instead of it being a transfusion reaction based on the ABO blood group, it's based on the Rh factor, or the D antigen. To understand this, first we have to look a little bit at how the genetics work with the D antigen. Now, for every gene, we have two copies or two alleles, one that we inherit from our mother and one that we inherit from our father. In the case of the Rh factor, the two options are the big D, the dominant allele, and the little d, the recessive allele. The dominant allele is stronger. If it's ever present, then it's going to be the one that determines whether you have the D antigen or not. The little d is recessive, so it obeys the big D if the big D is around. So since we all have two of these, the three combinations that we can have to determine blood type are big D, so we inherited a dominant allele from each of our parents, or big D, little d, so one of our parents gave us the dominant and one gave us the recessive, or little d. So these are the only three options. Now, because the big D is dominant, both of these genotypes, or both of these gene combinations, give this person the D antigen, or they are Rh positive. Only someone who has two little d's, two recessive alleles, will be Rh negative. Now, the reason that this is important is because this scenario happens whenever the mother is Rh negative. So this is called a Punnett square, and it helps us to see all of the possible offspring or all of the possible genotypes or gene combinations that we can have with a particular mother and father. So in this, we're going to give the mother two recessive alleles because the mother is Rh negative. This is always the case with hemolytic disease of the newborn. Women who are Rh positive never have to worry about this, but that will make sense soon. Now, the problem comes when the father is Rh positive. So let's give our father a big D and a little d. Now, the way the Punnett square works is we make every possible combination. So if we have, where this square meets, we have a big D from dad and a little d from mom. So this offspring would be big D, little d. In this square, we have a little d from mom and a big D from dad. So again, big D, little d. In this square, we have a little d from mom and a little d from dad. And in this square, little d from both parents. So what this means is that the offspring have a 50-50 chance of being Rh positive. So if the offspring inherits the big D from their father, then they'll be Rh positive. If they get the little d from their father, then they'll be Rh negative. Okay? All right, so let's take a look at what happens when an Rh, oh, I forgot to say he's Rh positive. When an Rh negative mother and an Rh negative father have children, because those children have the potential to be Rh positive. As long as the father is Rh positive, the children may be Rh positive. They may also be Rh negative, in which case there's no problem, but this is always a possibility. Okay, so here's what happens. If a woman who is Rh negative gets pregnant and the fetus is Rh positive, the blood can't cross from the mother to the baby or the baby to the mother, but antibodies can. So let's take a look. Here's mom, and here she is pregnant with her first. Okay, so mom is Rh negative, but the baby is Rh positive. This is okay because blood cells do not pass from the placenta to the mother's blood, or from the mother's blood through the placenta to the baby's blood, at least not during a normal, healthy pregnancy. However, during childbirth, when the baby is coming out, we won't draw this completely. Mom is still Rh negative because that's her genes. The baby is still Rh positive. But childbirth is a bloody, messy process. So somewhere during this, during childbirth, some of the baby's blood is going to cross the placenta and be able to enter mom's bloodstream. That doesn't bother this baby or mom really at this point. But what happens while mom is dealing with raising an infant here, that's because she's really tired. All right, so here she is, not pregnant, but I have to make her a little bigger because otherwise I can't write on her. Okay. And we're not giving her arms anymore. All right, so mom is still Rh negative because that's what her genes determine her blood type to be. But during this process, she is making antibodies because that Rh positive blood got into her body with those D antigens. So mom's immune system makes anti-D antibodies after the first child, after exposure to the D antigen. So this is her first exposure to the D antigen, normally during childbirth or towards the end of the pregnancy. So after that pregnancy, she begins to make anti-D antibodies. Now let's say that she gets pregnant again. Yay, she's super happy. Here comes number 2. All right. Okay, so mom is still Rh negative, and this baby is Rh positive. And just like before, that's okay because this blood and this blood are not going to mix. The placenta prevents the blood from mixing. However, the anti-D antibodies that mom produced after her first pregnancy, those anti-D antibodies can cross the placenta. They're small, much smaller than cells, and they're able to cross the placenta. Now, there's a D antigen on the baby's blood cells because it's Rh positive. So all of that anti-D antibody starts attacking the baby's blood and causing it to lyse and burst. And that's where this word comes from. Hemo, meaning blood. Lytic, lyse is to break or burst. So during her second pregnancy, the second baby is going to have their blood attacked by the anti-D antibodies from that resulted after the first pregnancy. Now, in order to prevent this, women who are Rh negative are given something called RhoGAM. Forget if it's a capital G. And what RhoGAM does is it protects or hides the D antigen. So while mom is pregnant, this first time, the RhoGAM, they give her a shot of RhoGAM, and it covers up the D antigen. That means that when, during childbirth, blood is exchanged, the D antigen's not visible, therefore she doesn't make anti-D antibodies, and therefore during her second pregnancy, there are no anti-D antibodies to attack the developing fetus. All right, so that's hemolytic disease of the newborn. This also can happen if you give somebody who has Rh negative blood, you give them an Rh positive transfusion. It won't give them a transfusion reaction the first time because there are no anti-D antibodies. But once they see the D antigen and their body makes anti-D antibodies, if you were to give them that blood type again, then it would cause massive hemolysis or blood bursting.